Welcome back, everyone, to another photography adventure. I am still out at Hardscrabble Creek, and for this video, I am going to be doing tips on deep woods photography. So I had mentioned I'm still out at Hardscrabble Creek, and I just need to be honest about something. All my videos, they are not published immediately. I try to give myself about a month delay. And honestly, I just love being outdoors. I love photography, so I might end up with a habit of filming multiple videos in the same place. In the last video, I had a bunch of fun photographing the Hardscrabble Creek. Honestly, I wasn't expecting to get as many shots of the creek, so it went on a little longer than it should have and turned into a tips on stream tutorial video. But there's still like 4 or 5 hours of the day left, so yeah, time to go out some more. Since I'm all alone, it's Colorado, can't have a fire because of fire bans, so I don't really have much else to do other than shoot pictures. Not that that's a bad thing. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna head out into the woods, and to be completely honest, I've never been very successful with like actual deep woods photography. I have a really hard time isolating things and getting the compositions I want, so I am going to go out with an attempt to do something different, and I am going to try to get some awesome deep wood shots here. Well, I have found my first composition. It is this little plant up against this rock. So what I've decided to do is take this little plant, and since it's all by itself and none of the scenery is like it, I am going to try to get this for a composition. I'm thinking I should be able to crop it into something good. Okay, so back to my shot here. I really want to do this at as wide open of an aperture as possible, so I've got this at 15 millimeters, and I'm going to go with f3.5 to try to get as much of only this plant in focus as possible. Okay, so it looks like we got f3.5, 1/13 of a second, and ISO 100. And hopefully that turned out, but here it is. Okay, so for my next shot, I've decided to try shooting a shot uphill and doing some forced perspective. I've got a couple rocks in front of me and a bunch of pine needles on the ground, and then big trees are all you can see beyond that. So I'm hoping I can get something cool here. Okay, so we got manual mode on and ISO 100. And because I'm gonna have to stitch this together, I'm gonna shoot this at f13, I think, since it's a nice calm day. Okay, so according to my camera, I'm actually overexposing the Sahara, but I think that's a good decision. So the first shot is, they're all at f13, and I'm gonna shoot the first one, focusing on the pine needles right up in front. And then the next shot, I'm gonna focus on the rock right there. And then I'm gonna focus on the back rock. And I'm gonna focus on the trees. And I kind of want to try something else since I have this shot up. I'm gonna take it down to f5.6. And to do something different, I'm gonna bring my focus point just right to... There's a little tiny rock in the center that I'm gonna... or kind of a little off center that I'm gonna focus on. I'm gonna actually adjust my composition so that that's kind of on a third point. So I'm gonna go with one stop of exposure bracketing. That way I can guaranteed get this exposure perfect. Because I might need to bring back the clouds, I'm not really sure. Don't know if I want to. And I'm also going to shoot it underexposed just in case there's something I want from the clouds. So, that wraps up this shot, and remember, if there's a whole bunch of things in the scene, you can always get down low and shoot upwards, get something in the foreground to block out distracting elements, which is what I attempted to do here. So here's the photo, hope you enjoy. Okay, so while climbing up this mountain, I have found another composition, and this goes with another suggestion as well. I remember not to skip the little things. The tiny things you walk past, sometimes they're just absolutely gorgeous. Like this shot right here. I could have walked past it. There's a million pine cones on the ground. But this one had some really cool sticks lined up to it that made a good, nice leading line into the pine cone. And it's just like this little stick here coming in. It makes the picture. Like 100%. So yeah, recommendation. Don't overlook the little things. Okay, so I switched it to manual focus just so I could guaranteed get what I wanted here. And I've got that all nice and lined up. So yeah, I think that's gonna turn out really good, but either way, here it is. Okay, well, I finally made it up to the top of this, well, not to the top, but somewhere up a ways where I've got a vantage point. And I came across this composition. I'm shooting between a couple rocks over the top of some pine needles, and I've got the mountain in the background kind of framed in trees. So, because the exposure is so everywhere, I am actually... Okay, I'm gonna go with the full 2 stops of exposure bracketing, just to try to get this right somehow. So first shot, I'm gonna focus on the mountain itself, and I'm gonna try to expose for the mountain. So I think that's about what I want. And then the next shot, I'm gonna move my focal point down to this foreground rock, and I'm going to set the exposure for that. And then I'm gonna move the focal point down to the very front pine needles. And I'm gonna try to set the exposure for those. So between these bracketed images, somewhere between Lightroom and Photoshop, I might be able to do HDR and merge them that way. I might have to do this all 100% in Photoshop. But whatever went into editing, here's the finished product. And actually, I might stick around this area. It is absolutely gorgeous. I got some beautiful rocks to sit on. I got a great vantage point. Sunset's probably only about an hour off here, so yeah, I might actually hang around and try to find a good composition for sunset. Okay, so whether or not sunset's actually going to happen, I'm not 100% sure at the moment. I got some hope. But I found this just absolutely gorgeous spot to sit, and a beautiful composition on top of it. So I'm going to hang out here for sunset. This is officially my stopping point. There's a lot of directions I can shoot, a lot of different things I can get depending on if and where colors fall. So we'll give this a shot. But since I found this composition, I'm going to shoot it since I'm here. I'm just going to manually bracket this. Okay, so let's get that detail in the sky exactly where I want it. I think right there is about perfect. I really don't want to blow it out, but I also don't want to get it too dark. Okay, I think that's about perfect. So I got f11, 1/60th of a second. So that's my shot for the sky. And then I'm gonna crank up the exposure so that I can expose for the foreground. And I think I want that about there. So this one I'm focusing on the mountain. And then I'm gonna bring it down and I'm gonna focus on the foreground in front of me. I think those two shots, since everything's at a bit of a distance since I'm up on a ledge, I think that should stack into clean focus. So hopefully, if all goes well, that should be an awesome shot. Here it is. Okay, so sunset is officially starting, or at least golden hour is. So I have found my final composition I'm going for. Okay, sorry, sky's a bit blown out in the video, but that's roughly what I'm aiming for. There's some beautiful clouds coming over. I got nice soft light, so what I'm gonna do at the moment is I'm gonna shoot a nice foreground exposure since I've got the perfect light for it. Okay, so in order to get this exposed properly, I got the histogram on the back of my camera, and I'm using that to get the foreground to get the foreground exposed. So, okay, I got it about perfect. gonna take that picture, and then I'm gonna change the exposure and bring it down so that the highlights just are barely blowing out, just a hair. It's just blowing out the clouds just a shred, because I want that little bit, because but yeah. So then I am shooting that picture. So here are these two pictures, and I'm gonna combine them in post, and that should end up being my sunset composition. So that foreground I might actually use for sunset, depending on how things go. But yeah, I'm just gonna wait for light and the right clouds and hope something really cool comes from this. So honestly, I feel like I've gotten a lot of shots I'm happy with this video. I'm starting to get kind of hungry. It's getting a little late, and I'm starting to kind of feel like mountain lion bait. I'm on like a perfect perch. This just seems like wonderful area for mountain lions, and I'm sitting out here alone. So yeah, between feeling like I got a shot I'm happy with and that, I think I'm gonna wrap this up and head back to camp. Yeah, as I said, I'm not sticking around for the actual sunset. I got some really good shots after the sun went behind the mountains, and there were just beautiful, like, fluffy clouds, and honestly, I'm really happy with how some of those turned out. I'm sure there's going to be one of those I'm going to be really satisfied with. So yeah, if you enjoyed this episode, definitely hit those like and subscribe buttons. And hopefully I will see everyone next time.